So a really interesting conversation that's coming up right now is where do the Universe 7 protagonists and Frieza with his new black transformation compare in comparison to the God of Destruction of Universe 7 Beerus now after chapter 103 of Dragon Ball Super. Obviously, the chapter on Beerus' planet with the sparring between the Saiyans happened a while ago, but with Toyotaro's new interview stating that they are all equally matched or at least on the same tier of power, which has made Dragon Ball Super moving forward very interesting upon its return. But ultimately, this entire Dragon Ball Super run, they have been chasing Beerus, and obviously Frieza as well with his new black transformation, who was able to one-shot Ultra Ego Vegeta and Ultra Instinct Goku in basically the same blow. Now, what seems to be stirring up this conversation mostly is this image here. It's been posted by Anime Central. I'm not entirely sure who they are, and this isn't an attack on them. We're going to go over how accurate this is and whether there's any nuance to this and basically deep it. Ultimately, this isn't an attack, this isn't YouTube 2019, we're not going back there ever, ever, but I think many people in the fandom agree that moving forward, Beerus needs to be surpassed sometime soon. Now, obviously in the anime, some people believe there's an interpretation where he has been surpassed, whilst many people believe that the Broly movie and the superhero movie basically wrote that out. That's not the conversation for today, because we're mainly focusing on the manga moving forward because it was Toyotaro's interview, and this image with this bar chart seems to be placed on the manga version of Dragon Ball Super. But before I continue, please do smash a like on the video. Please comment down below, even if it's just saying hello. I'm in a war against YouTube algorithm right now, and liking and commenting down below really does help lend me your energy so I can send a son of a bitch of a spirit bomb at this YouTube algorithm that apparently hates me. Please do like and comment, and please do subscribe if you're new to the channel. I release approximately 10 Dragon Ball videos per month, usually 10 to 15 minutes. You've got a bit of time to listen and talk about a bit of Dragon Ball. This channel's for you. In fact, here's a task. As this video is about Beerus, what I want you to do down in the comment section, and maybe I'll create a template in my pinned comment, is ultimately, Beerus is 100, okay? Then I want you to place Black Frieza, Legendary Super Saiyan Broly, Gohan Beast, Orange Piccolo, Ultra Instinct Goku, Ultra Ego Vegeta on a scale out of 100 to indicate how close you think they are to Beerus, the God of Destruction. If you want to include dead characters like Gas and Cell Max, or other characters like Granola and Beerus in there, or Moro in fact, go ahead. I'm definitely looking forward to see them, maybe even a current Jiren. I'm looking forward to seeing your rankings. Let me know what you think on that down below in a scale out of 100 if Beerus is 100. So as we can see in this image, it's basically a bar chart, and obviously I'm not sending out the idea that bar charts are really the way to go in Dragon Ball Super. I think that's the nuance we're going to talk about in this video, and often the nuance we talk about in my videos, if you follow me for a while, you'll know this. Bar charts probably don't give you an accurate reflection on how they really rank amongst each other, but you can see Beerus at the top, you can see Black Frieza next, and there seems to be a 2 times difference between Black Frieza and Beerus. I think what they're trying to portray is the overall power level of these characters, and then there's Broly, Gohan, Goku, Vegeta and Piccolo, all with their strongest transformations, all on the same level. Now obviously this is clearly being based off Toyotaro's interview, and this is why it's done the rounds recently, because it's included Beerus, and Beerus is the one they've been chasing throughout the entire of Dragon Ball Super. In fact, Beerus was the catalyst for the entire Dragon Ball Super story. Now, is this true? Now, in terms of it being a reflection of whether it's true, it's hard to know exactly how much stronger Beerus is than all of these characters. If you go back to Battle of Gods, it was quite clear that Super Saiyan God Goku, despite impressing Beerus, was nowhere near it. If we go back to that scale that I've asked you to put down in the comment section, make sure you're doing it, Super Saiyan God Goku will probably be 1 out of 100, if that, really. Remember, this is the manga version, though the power creep is definitely a lot slower than that in the anime. But even though the portrayal made it seem like Super Saiyan God Goku was close to Beerus, in fact, I think that misconception mostly came from the movie, where you could argue in that continuity, then he could have been, but in the manga continuity, it's certainly not been the case. In fact, it's been very clear in the manga that Beerus has been ahead of them this whole time. I made a video of 25 different times they made it clear that Beerus is just the motherfucking strongest. I hope you've seen it. If you've not, do check it out. Obviously, because of the anime, people thought that Ultra Instinct in the Tournament of Power surpassed Beerus because Beerus was unable to learn the technique of mastery of self-movement, Ultra Instinct. But it's become very clear in the manga that Ultra Instinct hasn't surpassed Beerus. In chapter 101, Beerus literally tells Goku, a current Goku, post-superhero, that he still needs to catch him up, essentially. Obviously, we got the Jump magazine article talking about Black Frieza, a character that one-shotted Ultra Instinct Goku, or I should say True Ultra Instinct Goku, but this Goku still states that he is trying to catch up to Black Frieza, even though the superhero arc is circa 2 years later than the Granola arc, where Frieza accomplished that feat. But it states in the Jump article that Black Frieza is close to a God of Destruction. Now, we know that is Beerus because we know from previous arcs that certain characters have already surpassed their God of Destruction. For example, Jiren has surpassed Belmod in Universe 11, and obviously the characters have gotten a lot stronger since the Tournament of Power. But at least in terms of official source material, it is the most prominent source material we have on that matter yet. So, for me at least, given that I'm into traditional power scaling, it stands. So we know that Beerus is stronger than them, so I don't disagree with this bar chart from Anime Central having Beerus stronger than them. And I think because this image is circulating a lot, it's reaching a lot of fans that only watch the anime, and a lot of those seem to still believe that proved Beerus had been surpassed in the Tournament of Power. They've not really kept up with the events in the manga, so I think that's what I need to do this video for. I think it is getting interesting now. I've been a big advocate throughout all these arcs, stating that Beerus hasn't been surpassed against a tide of opposition, basically. But I do believe the time for Beerus being caught up is on hand, and I believe we got certain hints of that during that sparring on Beerus's planets. For example, Beerus telling Goku to keep training to catch him up so that he can become the God of Destruction candidate. Then them talking about Gohan becoming the God of Destruction candidate because of his sheer raw power, because apparently Beerus wants to retire now. What I believe this is doing is giving us a hint that they are closing in on Beerus's power. They are close to a God of Destruction. They're in the God of Destruction tier of power. They surpassed that level of Belmod, but they've not quite made it to Beerus. As we saw in the God of Destruction Battle Royale, Beerus and Quintella demonstrated that they are the two strongest Gods of Destruction based on feats. And you can even say the statements support it as well, but they are closing in. However, Frieza is closer. So if I was to go back to that bar chart, and I'll get onto the nuance in just a moment, I would probably have Black Frieza a lot closer to Beerus than halfway there. I believe he's more than halfway there at this point. In fact, I would even go as far as saying that Goku, Vegeta, Gohan, Broly and Orange Piccolo are now more than halfway there. And I know some of them are Aspals, especially Gohan Beast. Piccolo's orange form's an Aspal at the moment, especially unless they start giving him some sort of demonic twist to the transformation, which I think will be interesting. And I guess you could throw Broly in there as well. But I believe they're a lot closer than 25% of Beerus, if that is what Anime Central is advocating. So allegedly, I guess you could say. So I would have them a lot closer to Beerus than this. I would probably have Black Frieza at about 95 out of 100 in comparison to Beerus, and then the rest of them probably around that 90 mark. However, the nuance I think comes in here because these characters have transformations that have hacks and abilities now. Whilst we don't know too much about Frieza's hacks and abilities, I think it would be safe to assume that he probably has some, he just hasn't demonstrated them yet. He, just like Vegeta, saw Jiren in the Tournament of Power and that Ultra Efficiency. He's seen Ultra Instinct himself. I don't think he has Ultra Instinct, but I believe he'll have some sort of ability that can compete with Ultra Instinct if Ultra Instinct catches him up. Then obviously Ultra Instinct Goku comes with loads of hacks, dodge hacks, speed hacks, enhanced reaction, it exploits openings, ultimately critical hits. Providing he can keep his heart and mind tranquil as well, he can adapt and get stronger in battle. For example, he can refine his moves as he goes, as well as become sturdier. And I don't talk about this enough actually. Another thing he can do really is, even if he can't stay calm and tranquil, he can switch into his true Ultra Instinct state, which allows him to use his Saiyan traits and use emotional amps to power up his Ultra Instinct Sign transformation, to the point where we saw against Gas actually surpassed Silverhaired Ultra Instinct. And did I mention he can use a motherfucking Susano as well? Vegeta, whilst we know less about it, we know that if he takes damage, that fuels his mindset of destruction, which makes his battle desire burn hotter, which allows him to get stronger as the fight goes. And obviously he has destruction itself. Obviously he has a limit on that and how much damage he can take, but he's also trained in efficiency now after being inspired by Jiren. But both those Ultra forms can get stronger in battle. Gohan Beast seems to have a base Gohan Beast form that we saw fight against Ultra Instinct Goku, and Ultra Instinct Goku was getting the better of it. As Vegeta stated, Ultra Instinct is shifting the battle in Goku's favour. However, once Gohan Beast went into the full extent mode of Gohan Beast, Gohan gained that much sheer speed and sheer power that he was able to override Goku's enhanced reaction speed. So Gohan, even though he may need to charge it up, can also get stronger in battle. Broly is a bit of a mystery at the moment because he now has that controlled Super Saiyan form. Some people are calling it the legendary Super Saiyan form due to the green tint in the hair, but ultimately we know his Super Saiyan full power state that we saw in the movie, that gets stronger as he battles. However, with that state, he had no real control over it. He was basically a punching bag for Gogeta, but it got stronger as the fight went along. It adapted. Does his new controlled Super Saiyan state have that same ability? He probably still has the ability to snap and go back into that Super Saiyan full power state that we saw in the movie, and some people still argue that Goku's statement that he surpassed Beerus with that state could still hold true. So if he did it again, is he stronger than Beerus? Maybe he goes beyond that 100, at least in terms of sheer power. And I'll get on to why that wouldn't be enough just to beat Beerus in a moment, and why these bar charts aren't particularly that accurate despite being fun to look at. Ultimately, that only leaves Orange Piccolo. Orange Piccolo we don't know too much about. There's too much conjecture about his form. We just know it's a sheer power-up. What abilities? Does it come with hacks? Maybe it does. Hopefully they link it to the Demon Realm stuff. But ultimately, because we didn't get to see him train with Gohan Beast in panels in the manga, and because they didn't show Goku sparring with him, we don't know anything about it. We just know he's in that tier of power along with the rest of them. So a bar chart can kind of give you an idea on where their base levels might be in those transformations, but ultimately they get stronger as the battle goes along. So whilst I know it's fun to look at, I don't think it's an accurate way to look at it. I think there's a lot of nuance around this right now, and I think that's why so many people are excited about the future Dragon Ball Super, because there is now so much more unpredictability about what may happen in the upcoming events. Smash a like on the video if you agree. So whilst bar charts can give you a standing level where they may have been at a singular point in time, it doesn't really cover how the battle plays out throughout the entire battle that they are undergoing at that time. And Dragon Ball Super has become more about styles make fights. Power levels are still important, but they're not the be all end all. Certain techniques, abilities, or hacks can counteract higher raw power levels and equalize them. However, here's the kicker, and it's a big kicker. Beerus, in terms of sheer raw power levels, his raw power level reserves, probably isn't just stronger than them. He probably has a lot more hacks and abilities that we don't know of. We already know he has semi-UI, and he can also use destruction to an extremely vast degree, and he likely can get stronger in battle himself, given that he stated that his power is limitless as long as his mind's on destruction. We know he has pressure point attacks. He also recognized the change in Vegeta after he did the efficiency training. There's more to Beerus than we know of. So when they do eventually get round to fighting him, I don't believe, even if they catch up to him in terms of sheer raw power level, which I don't think they're far off, I think they'll come unstuck basically due to the fact that Beerus has learned multiple different things in his millions of years of training. Obviously they'll beat Beerus in the end. That's where the story is going, I believe, but I don't think it'll be plain sailing even when they do catch up to him in terms of sheer raw power. So guys, this is not a criticism of that bar chart. In fact, I'm happy. What Anime Central has clearly done has got people talking, got people engaging conversations, dialectic, debating, and it's a catalyst for discussion essentially. So I'm happy with that's what I want my channel to be, and it was interesting talking about it. Thank you to the person for sending me this and asking me to cover it. I'll happily cover things if you send me them if it's worth talking about. So smash a like on the video, comment down below, make sure you give me your rankings out of 100 where all these characters lie amongst each other. Until next time, Ad Astra.